I was speaking at the start of the week with someone who isn't a client of ours, but did recently start investing in the share market. And recently there's been something, you might have heard it, the tech sell-off in the US. And something that he couldn't really wrap his head around was how things that were happening in the US share market was affecting Australia and our shares, and what is the correlation there between the two. And to be completely honest, there is a lot of factors that go into it, but one of them is really important, and it's sentiment. And I guess with Australia in our time zone, what kind of happens is a lot of markets around the world are all trading and happening overnight. So all these events are occurring while we're asleep, basically. So when we wake up, we hear these news stories about what's happened overseas, and people start trying to guess or understand what that's going to mean for Australian companies. And this US tech sell-off that I'm talking about, basically the days that there was the largest drawback in the likes of Amazon, Tesla, Google, those sorts of things. When people in America were selling those down, the expectation was the Australian markets were going to get hit pretty hard when our market opened at 10 a.m. as well, which did happen. Doesn't always happen, but it did this time. And sentiment is part of the reason for that. So I guess when you're comparing the Australian share market with the rest of the world, or mainly the US, we're a drop in the ocean. I mean, our biggest companies on our stock exchange would be considered small/tiny on the US market because the scale is so different. So I guess when the largest market in the world, the US market, when something big happens there, it basically ripples through the rest of the world. And even if specifically nothing that's sort of happening there is affecting us directly, a lot of it can come down to sentiment. So if something drastic is happening there, whether it's good or bad, that can affect our sentiment and what, I guess, investors in Australia are expecting to happen here as well. So if confidence is reducing over in America, we can find that confidence here in Australia can reduce as well, because something happens in America and it can affect the whole world. So once again, it can work on the other way as well. So if things are going along really well in America and people are really confident, then it almost feels like that's going to spread throughout the world. And we can find that our share market can rally because we're saying, well, great, America's doing a great job, so can we, and we're going to, I guess, follow them along that pathway as well. So sentiment is incredibly important. It's something that can drive a lot of the volatility, so the fluctuations in share prices. So once again, sentiment's really important, and some of the major banks here release sentiment reports. So things like business sentiment, consumer sentiment, the feel of it all, the vibe of it, and how people in Australia and America are feeling and what their gut is telling them, whether it's good or bad. That's sentiment. So it's really important, and it's one of the reasons why if something happens in America, that can affect what's going to happen here on our home soil as well. So once again, that's sentiment. There's a lot more factors that go into it, but that's a major one.